All right, we're going to start off with college football, NCAA football, Colorado, Deion Sanders. Now, this one's pretty interesting for me, John, and you have your ties into there, so I'm curious. So I would say this. I think Deion Sanders has been listening to the Rebels Edge. I know you've had a daughter who goes to school in Colorado. You've been there plenty yourself. You've probably bumped shoulders here and there with Deion when you're in town, because I'm sure he'd want to, get in your brain about what's going on in the market with all the money he's getting, which is $10 million a year. Not so bad. But at the Big 12 Media Day, John, he was totally different than he's been the previous 2 years down there in Colorado, John. And here's why I say that. He said sports are getting hurt by the unregulated players and the movement that we are seeing. I don't know anybody who uses the portal more than Deion Sanders. I don't know anybody who's taken the money that they've gotten and they're paying athletes as much as Deion Sanders has been able to do. So I think it's interesting that now he's taking our side of things, which is, hey, how about a damn salary cap? They do it in the NFL. They got to figure out a way to have some form of a cap, but nobody's really given the perfect answer yet. But it's something you and I have talked about for a really long time. Why is the NFL the best? It's because they have a real salary cap. It gives even the lowest end of the ring of a ladder. They have an opportunity because everybody's got the same salary cap. $255 million. It's probably now almost $300 million for the cap. But nonetheless, it's a cap, and it gives everybody an opportunity to be there. College sports, that's not the case. As a matter of fact, John, when you look around, yes, there's this settlement. Everybody's going to get $20.5 million each, every school that's part of the biggest of the big, right? But outside of that, they still raise money. They still got Ohio State money, Michigan money, Notre Dame money, Georgia, Alabama, all of them, where you're competing right now against schools where you've got $25 or $30 million committed to freshman classes that are coming in. I mean, so somewhere along the line, you've got to get it. But I love that at least he's finally come on board, John, that there needs to be a cap. But I noticed the timing of his asking of the cap is pretty interesting, too, since both his kids just got out of school.
Pete, I was looking for some numbers, and I'm sure they're out there, but the best I was able to find was that somebody was tracking the 5430 initiative, and that's, I guess, what is the driver for facilitating NIL, name, image, and likeness deals. Mm-hmm. Colorado was 46th among active college football programs in terms of NIL. And as you said, Pete, they had a couple guys, three really, I guess, Travis Hunter, Shadur, and the Sanders brothers, I'll say, accounted for about $7.5 million by themselves of the NIL. I think Travis might have been close to 3 million, Pete. But to be 43rd or 46th among all these active colleges, you do have to wonder when the money does stop. Mm-hmm. Because, if you're Georgia and or Tennessee or South Carolina or, pick the school, how do they pay these guys as much as they're paying them year after year after year? And quite frankly, the answer is some of these contracts aren't worth the paper that they're not written on. They give the kid, oh yeah, we'll give you $4 million to come play here. And then the kid never even got it. That's why some of these guys transfer, because they're like, heck with this. If you're not going to pay me, I'm going. Mm-hmm. And I think, I'm not saying it's ruined the game, but it certainly changed the game. The portal changed it and the NIL, and they could do a good deed for all of these sports by putting an overall cap on how much they can spend. I think that's just the right thing.
Yeah, it's got to happen at some point in time. Who knows when? But, he was very adamant at the Big 12 media conferences, John, about that number and having to get a cap. So I'm glad he's on that board now, but I wish he'd have been on there a year ago, maybe, just to make it look a little bit better. As far as the NFL, I thought this would be a fun one because we're not that far away from the camps getting started again, right? So I'll give you my 5, and then you can criticize it as much as you want or move guys around. But I got the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL for 2025 for you. I'm going to start off with Lamar Jackson. I put him at number 1. Now, there's a lot of good arguments for other guys, so I get it. But here's why I put him at number one. John, the guy threw for 41 touchdowns, very high. How many interceptions? 4. There's some guys who have 4 in a game. Lamar Jackson had 4 for the season, 17 games. He also ran for 900 yards, and he got a couple of touchdowns doing that. Joe Burrow was 43-9. Not so bad, pretty damn good. He doesn't even have a defense there, so that's something that they got to work on. They got to help him with the offensive line too, but that's a hell of a one. So I love what he's doing. Josh Allen, 28-6, but the guy's big as a tight end, can runs the ball really well as a quarterback. They probably wish he wouldn't do it as much as he's done it, but Buffalo's got that new stadium they're building. It looks unbelievable. And I think that that's going to be the house that Josh built, because Josh Allen is special. Baker Mayfield, that's my kind of dark horse that I'm throwing out there, because nobody seems to want to give the kid credit ever since he failed as the first pick in the draft at Cleveland. Okay. Carolina didn't really do all that great. Okay. I think he bounced to San Francisco for a minute or two. Didn't do anything really there. And then all of a sudden he comes to Tampa. He gets to Tampa, and what does he do? He lights it up. This past year, he had 41 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. So I have to put him in there, John. And then last, I'll throw in Jared Goff. But the problem for Jared is they lost the offensive coordinator, lost the defensive coordinator. The offense is obviously going to be a little bit different. And Jaden Daniels, the problem for me with him, because I think he's unbelievable, the only problem for him, and he runs a lot too, is that sophomore slump. It seems like everybody falls into it. You know, they start off great, and then they kind of start to slump a little bit that second year, and then they can come back. But, you know, I just wonder if that's going to happen to Jaden. Do you like that list, and do you like the order, or do you like it mixed up a little bit?
Well, I got to put Herbert in there, Pete.
Yeah, I like it.
I like your Lamar Jackson pick. By the way, all of these guys that Pete's talking about, until you get to Jaden Daniels, all of these guys are 28, 29 years old. Mm-hmm. They are young. And Jaden, I think, is going to be, you know, one of the best of the whole batch, Pete. Obviously, you got to throw Mahomes in there, but Stafford, he's the only QB in the top 10 rated QBs, Pete, that is over 30 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a young class from Josh Allen, 29, Mahomes, 29, Lamar Jackson, 28. I mean, these guys could play for a lot of years, especially with the new rules on how much you can touch them or not touch them.
Yeah.
And Justin Herbert, 27, Pete. Jared Goff, like you said, he's turning 30, I believe, but I don't think he was 30 when they did these rankings. And Jalen Hurts, only 26. Yeah. And after seeing him in the Super Bowl, how do you not want that guy? I mean, if you picked a guy to start for your team, a lot of people would say Mahomes. I get it. But Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, they will run through a wall to get that first down. They are extending to get, you know, that third and whatever. They're going to get that first down. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't want to be the punter at all on those teams, because you don't get to punt much on either of those two teams, Pete. You're not even going to get into the whole list of the best. But I think those guys are great. Stroud could have the same kind of year that Jaden Daniels had last year, and that Stroud had his first year in the league. This will be his third. So watch that kid, because he's something special too.
Yeah. Some great quarterbacks, and the Big 12 has got some great quarterbacks this year, John, too, as far as the draft. People are starting to talk about this coming draft already, even though we haven't even started the season yet for college football. But people are already saying, you know what, the Big 12 is really deep on quarterbacks. And if that's the case, I'd even say, well, probably the Big 10 is pretty deep as well, because there's some pretty damn quarterbacks in the Big 10 that are, I think, going to be pretty high up picks as well. So there's another young group that's going to be coming, and it's going to be pretty interesting. Even the draft this year was pretty interesting. There was more guys, quarterbacks going in this year's draft than everybody predicted as far as the first round and so forth. So, it's out there, and the Vikings are going to run with their guy who they got last year. They traded all the way up to the 10th pick with JJ, and that kid's going to be special. The more they show highlights here, John, And I know it's just highlights. You're not getting a rush on him or anything. That kid is just really accurate. And all you got to do is look at his past, what he did. He won in everything in high school, won everything in college, and now he's here at the Minnesota Vikings with, I don't know, maybe the best receiving group of anybody in the whole NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be a phenomenal year for you guys. We'll have to talk about that later in the week.
Yeah.
Pick the winners and losers as far as the top teams in each division.